welcome back to the Bad Movie Reviews channel, hosted by your favourite film physicists, Ben and Daniel, and we will be reviewing one of my most anticipated films of the year. You, funnily enough, didn't name it, but
Didn't even know it was coming out.
You forgot it existed, but it is none other than Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. So it is an event, right? A Christopher Nolan film. You are sitting there day one at the cinema. What else can I say, really?
Don't know. You kind of have to just jump straight into
it. Yeah. Nah. Well, obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, I'm sure you do. It is, as I said, a return of Christopher Nolan. Previous film being Tenet. Back with a film based on the life and the creation, the life of Robert Oppenheimer.
Yep.
And the creation of the atomic bomb. And it's pretty much based on the book called American Prometheus, which is obviously based on the life of such subject matter. But we'll get straight into it without further ado. I'm sure you're itching yourself to know what we
I'm going to start off pretty strong on this one and say I think this was one of my favourite Christopher Nolan films ever. I really liked it. Sometimes it is hard to always do a...
As a bold take, Cotton.
Yeah, well, that's why I start off strong. It's very difficult sometimes to do like a movie about something so... one, serious, but also like a realistic event that also happened too.
Well, it's obviously, it's obviously, we've just got out of seeing this, so by the time this review goes up, it will be out. But,
definitely got some recency bias.
Obviously, that's the thing. You come out of the film feeling everything, so bear that in mind, but continue.
Yeah, no, it was beautiful, actually. I know obviously a little bit about the story of Oppenheimer, but not to that kind of degree. And it was really, I don't know, like eye-opening to a degree, I guess, probably from my lack of knowledge. It was a lot more to the event than overall, which just shows obviously where I'm at with my education side of things. But it was so beautifully told and written and acted. It was, I thought pretty much every single actor in this film stood out. Obviously a few characters that were just there for storytelling aspects, but I mean, realistically, everyone that kind of had a key role or key amount of time on screen, I really thought they brought their A game and were quite exceptional in this film. To obviously name probably the main three off the top of my head, which I just thought were just absolute standouts. And as I said, everyone was pretty great, but absolute standouts would be Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, and Robbie Downey Jr., which is pretty much how that list starts on your computer there. But they were phenomenal. They acted out of their skin. I thought it was great. And when it comes to their acting too, one thing that when you're telling a story about something that's either in the future or in the past, you look at like some like de-aging kind of stuff, and the way they did, I guess, kind of like de-aging in this was very good, using more practical means than obviously using anything digital related.
Well, it was all based off, it was all like in terms of aging.
Yeah, it was all makeup, but like it looked really good, and it really elevated the film. I thought it really brought it down to earth. Some of the score in this film too was absolutely unreal. I was soaking up the absolute gorgeous shots and scenery and everything with this beautiful score and audio design that's in the background, even like from subtle sounds to, just the way they did certain shots and scenes were just quite excellent, I thought. Cinematography, I really liked how the entire film was shot, and I thought it was one of the best shot films too, from Christopher Nolan. And including if I'm to go under like the cinematography kind of things, the color gradient, actually, when I talk about like the way the like certain colors either popping or not, or being an accurate representation of its time too. I feel like it was, it delivered great on that. I really enjoyed this film. I'm not sure really where to go because do we talk about plot? Because there's no real spoilers per se. But I love this film. It was eye-opening at the same time as I feel like it will have a lot of emotional impact on everyone. And I think that's one of the things that does elevate that above it, which also goes down to some of that acting and screenwriting and everything else in between. But I enjoyed it. I don't know where to go from here, so I'm going to throw it straight over to you. What are your thoughts?
I have a lot of them. This is probably this would be hard to be beaten for my number one of the year. Up there at the moment, I've got Spider-Verse, but like in terms of, I'll guess I'll start off with everything in front of the camera and then talk about the script and
Stuff
things like that.
behind,
But Cillian Murphy as J. Robert Oppenheimer is incredible and just demands your attention the whole time. As you said, Emily Blunt, I also think is fantastic, but I thought the person who actually really stole the film for me for what scenes where they were in, you did also name, which is Robert Downey Jr., and I would not be surprised to see him in some kind of awards contention come early next year. But everyone really brought their A game. Like, we're talking an A-grade cast here. We're talking the three I just named, but you've got Alden Ehrenreich, who is also fantastic. But you've got Matt Damon, like Florence Pugh, all these actors that are named on the poster, and everyone kind of knows what to expect. But there's also people and very much well-noted actors in the film that aren't actually, I guess, advertised on the posters or media, so I won't sort of go into that thing. But the cast is just stacked, and everyone, even it's one of those films that even a scene with the little, side character or a little extra where they've even got saying something, or the person who might be in the film for 5 minutes can really grip you in that time. So everyone really brought their A game. Also in front of the camera, as I said, that as I was saying, the cinematography is absolutely beautiful. Like,
Unreal.
I think Nolan came out and said there's not a CGI shot in the whole film, which is different to obviously visual effects and things like that. But that just blows me away. And you can kind of also tell everything feels incredibly practical. And nothing there was no notable scene where I sat there and I thought, this looks fake, this looks dodgy.
Yeah.
Like, it is absolutely, and for being a period piece as well, that is like a feat.
That's the
really.
word I was freaking looking for.
Like, to be a period piece, obviously set in the 1930s and late 1930s, obviously later when we're going through the age sequences, to be a period piece and have no uncanny imagery is really something that I've never really seen before, or very in very limited manner, I should say. I beg everyone possible to see this in IMAX because it utilizes the aspect ratio phenomenally and just draws you in as well. I know we saw this at IMAX Melbourne, which is showing it in the film version of the 1570 presentation, which I must admit definitely added something to it for me.
Yeah,
there's a kind of imperfection about actual film reel when you get those little gradient, like the little flickers and things of light coming through, and it just almost enthralled me the whole time. I was like, this is unreal. That's kind of, I guess, everything I have to say in terms of in front of the camera, acting, the cinematography, which was Hoyt van Hoytema, who I think I pronounced that correctly, who previously did like Nope and some of Nolan's previous films. But where this film really shines, I think, is the craft and the direction. Mainly for me, the craft of the film itself, whether it, as you said, be the score by Ludwig Göransson, who's done Nolan's previous films like Tenet, Interstellar, and even The Mandalorian. He did The Mandalorian.
Oh, yeah.
But the score is perfect, and I'm not kidding when I reckon this film was roughly about 3 hours. I think 3 hours on the dot. I can't remember one scene where it didn't have a musical piece accompanying it. And it doesn't take away from the film. It just adds so much. And the sound design and the sound editing, it really is something to be seen and or not be seen, funnily enough, be heard.
Yep.
But to be seen on the big screen. And also I got to give shout out to Jennifer Lame, who is a long-time worker with Nolan, who's the editor, because this film is edited so sharply. I know we've seen a few 3-hour films this year, being, for instance, John Wick. I can't even remember what else we saw. We saw one recently where I did say it felt a little bit too long for me. Can't remember for the life of me. But I'm not kidding where this is probably the most stuffed 3-hour film I've ever seen in terms of the fact that it grips you from the get-go. It is 99% dialogue.
Yeah.
And it is one of the sharpest written scripts I've ever heard Like it is constant, 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 and the dialogue is drawing you in, the performance is drawing you in. But that also shout out to, as I said, Jennifer Lame. She has edited this profusely well, and it is, I think, probably the creation of Dunkirk by Nolan probably helped him in creating this story because there is kind of interweaving timelines.
Yep.
It doesn't. I think everyone should be able to understand that. I don't think it's a confusing thing. I know he's come out and said also that the color, when he uses color in the film, it's supposed to be Oppenheimer's vision or view of the situations, and the black and white is this is what happened for those certain scenes. But there's obviously certain scenes where it's just all color. There's no recreation of black and white. But and I think he also wrote the script in Oppenheimer's view. I know it came out recently in a press conference or junket that Damon, when Matt Damon read the script, it rather than saying Robert Oppenheimer or so on walked to a window, it would say I walked to a window, and you can almost tell that because the film is extremely personal, and it's just. I don't have a negative thing to say about this film. Like I was enthralled the whole time. It is peak Nolan. It's obviously the first film that he's made that has been, I guess, based on a real life person. I know he obviously made Dunkirk, but it was kind of
more of a story.
It was based on a historical event. More of a this is obviously something, and I would not say no to another biopic. It is one of the, I think, greatest character studies I've seen in quite some time. I'm not going to go out on a big call and say ever because I can't remember any other one for me. But all in all, Nolan, I think, is at his best here. It is one of his best directed films. His best written film also. I think it is a haunting character study about what it is to be human and mistakes and the distraught that, and it is a harrowing movie. Like you come out of it and you kind of just sit there and you're like, fuck. As bad as it sounds.
Yeah.
There's no other way you can put it.
Kind of how I came out of it.
Obviously, the subject matter and you kind of know, I mean, even you said, we probably, I was supposed to read the book in high school, but I didn't, but we won't touch on that. We won't touch on that. Sorry, high school teachers, if you're watching, but I will go out of my way and read the book now and obviously try and learn a little bit more, but it is just a triumph of cinema, like no short means.
100%. I could not agree with you more.
The fact that it exists blows my mind because to give any filmmaker, even if it is Nolan, to give any filmmaker $180 million to make a character study about Oppenheimer, the man who created an atomic bomb, you don't sit there and think this is going to be fun, but it is Nolan. But I will recommend this to anyone and everyone who appreciates film. Maybe not some people, but it is, I mean, at the end of the day, it is a 3-hour-long character study. You need to be invested. You need to be interested in the subject matter because I don't think it will be for everyone, which pains me to say because it is a very dialogue-driven film. And when I mean you need to stay paying attention and stay drawn into the film, you really do. Because even if you go out for the toilet for 5 minutes or you... Not that I agree with it, but like say you're checking your phone or thing, like you probably will almost lose yourself in a. You need to be really drawn in, but I think he does a perfect job of actually doing that himself without obviously needing the audience to pay attention. But man, if any film beats this for my number one, I'll be surprised. Like I know I've got Dune coming out later this year, and other films I'm extremely looking forward to. Killers of the Flower Moon, even Barbie tomorrow.
When this review comes out, Barbie yesterday.
Yeah, correct. But that, like, in terms of, cinema, like, I'll be watching this for the rest of my life.
I'm really glad that you saw it the same way. When I started off with, I'm going to start off with a strong comment, and it's one of the best ones I've ever seen, if not the best. You're like, I was starting off strong, but you really put some points towards
I was really...
It was great.
I was captivated and drawn in the whole time. And don't get me wrong, I'm probably not going to sit here and say it's the funnest time I've had at a cinema this year, because, like, when I've seen films like Joyride and no, like you see a comedy or you see an action and you're having a good time. This film, by no means, is a great time. Like, I'm appreciating the art that is in front of me, and I am drawn in and captivated to the story. But when I left, I was kind of a shell of a human being and kind of like, fuck, as a human, like we are the shittest people.
suck.
We are
We
we are
suck.
awful, and I like yeah. So take that in mind because it is.
It's definitely more of a storytelling masterpiece.
It's a hard film to swallow in terms of obviously the story it's telling, the themes it takes of existence and creation and all that sort of. I won't get into too much spoiler territory. Not that I guess you can spoil a historical event, but please go see it. And if you have seen it, have seen it, I'm gobsmacked. Blown away. Lost my words.
We'd love
if
to
you
hear
have
your
seen
thoughts.
it, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Let us know in the comments below what you do think, where you rank it in the Nolan films. I'd love to know. Obviously, he's got films all the way from Dark Knight and the superhero films to your war films, even Dunkirk. And then this film is just a drastic departure, in my opinion, from everything he's done. And it just makes me appreciate him more as a director and filmmaker. And I will be there day one, IMAX, for anything he makes. And he's almost like... when I think of actors that just love everything they do, like I think of Tom Cruise. When I think of directors, like I don't hear Nolan talk much because he's not as profusely in your face. But like this is a filmmaker who loves the craft, loves doing it properly, and you can tell like it is.
There's a lot of love in this film.
Yeah. Please go see it. Please support it because I want this to make money. But anyway, comment below, subscribe, let us know what you think. Watch our Barbie review yesterday. And we'll catch you next time.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.